What's up, folks? This is Swolf. I was watching a video today of a couple of guys playing Street Fighter, and I actually believe that Street Fighter is my all-time favorite game. I used to play it way back when Ken and Ryu were the only two characters in the game, and you had to wait for a light to throw a fireball. And I played it in the arcades in the city for years, and through every version of the game I've been there. And I guess what I want to talk to you about today is community. Well, really good form versus pure skill development. And what I mean by that is, like, good form is kind of like what the community expects or expects you to behave, or what the community considers to be good behavior in gameplay. Like, for instance, Street Fighter and Call of Duty. I play both of these games. And oftentimes when I'm playing COD, I guess my style of gameplay, a lot of people would consider to be camping. I'm not sure. To be honest with you, I move, but I'm very strategic in the way that I do it. I usually engage enemies with the most advantage, me behind cover if possible. So, I mean, whatever. The thing is when I play COD, I think about it from the standpoint of I'm trying to be the best that I can be at this game and offer the maximum benefit to the team that I'm on that I can offer. And in my mind, that means doing whatever I have to do in order to minimize the amount of deaths that I get. I use KD as an indicator as to whether or not I've played well. But also, I take into account score, my contribution to the team overall. Like, if I get a really high KD, like for instance 5-1, but I only got 5 kills and 1 death, and I sat in a corner the whole game, and I didn't cap a flag or contribute to flag capping, or did something to lock off an alley so that my team could control the flow of traffic to an objective. I mean, if I didn't do any of those things, then I consider that to be a bad game, even though I've had a high KD. What I believe to be my objective when I'm playing team-based games is, if it's team deathmatch, is to get as many kills and as little deaths as possible. Because, I mean, even if I get 50 kills and I happen to get 30 deaths, to me, what I really did is I contributed to the game 20 kills. Because in the end, I gave away as many deaths as I took. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, well, not in 50, but you understand what I mean. I mean, it's simply that my contribution was 20 kills to the game, and I had a neutral footprint otherwise. Now, if I go 50-0, then my contribution was 50. You understand? Because those 30 deaths that I had gave kill streaks, put shit in the air, contributed to the enemy team's dominance over my team. Okay? Now, oftentimes when you're playing tactically, especially when you're developing your skill, when you're new to the game and everything else, and you're trying to figure your way around, get good at aiming, get good at reacting, reflexes. It's like a martial art. You start off really slow, and then as you get better at it, then it's reflex, it's instinct. You know what I mean? So, like, guys like Mark of J, which I love his gameplay. I mean, the guy's a hard rusher and everything else, and comes out with really high scoring KDs, and he's an objective player. I mean, to me, that's where we can get to eventually if we develop ourselves in our martial art, our COD martial art, if you want to call it that. But not everybody's at that skill level, and so you're going to have a wide variety of expressions along the spectrum of skill. Now, I'm not saying that Mark J's skill is the maximum or the highest level of skill. I really don't necessarily think that's so. But I do think that what he does requires a hell of a lot of skill to do. But I don't think it's the only way to play the game. I think that he has a role. Because the truth is, Mark of J's game, as spectacular as it is, wouldn't be possible if there weren't other guys doing other types of roles in his gameplay in order to provide him with the ability to get away with that. If you put Mark of J on a team that is not holding down avenues of flanking, like blocking flanking routes, and locking down sections of the map so he can rush in and pound them down in their spawn, then what happens is every time he turns around, he's going to get shot in the back. I mean, that's just the nature of rushers. Rushers need campers. Rushers need tactical players. They need people who know how to hold down a position and hold down a section of the map and everything else. Otherwise, rushing is not possible. If you get a bunch of people rushing in the game, what you get is a whole mess of chaos and really no real way to predict who's going to win. This is a lot of experience. I have a lot of hours playing COD, probably more than most people. I'm not saying I'm the best player. I'm probably likely to be, at the lower echelon when it comes to skill. But that doesn't mean that my experiences don't teach me something about the game, many hours that I put into the game. I mean, when I played Modern Warfare 3, I put in over 900 hours, almost 1,000 hours. Here's the thing. Okay. I guess I'm going a little off track. I mean, I'm not really. I'm kind of delving deeply into that to kind of make a point. But here it is. When I play COD, I think about tactical. But the thing is, the attitude in COD for most people, everybody seems to have, or I can't say everybody, not everybody's this way, but there's a large majority of people that get so wound up and uptight about getting killed by somebody who's holding a position. Yeah, I mean, or that's using cover in order to protect themselves in the engagement to give themselves the advantage. So they call them campers, and fine. If we want to use that word, that's fine. We can use that word. But they get so wound up about people who camp that it just becomes really hostile, and there's all this freaking down talk about camping and why do they play the game and how is it not fun. And to be honest with you, I really don't think they understand the nature of the game, the COD ecosystem. In every ecosystem, there's a variety of different type of animals. And the same thing in COD. You're going to have campers. You're going to have freaking running gunners. You're going to have people that specialize in certain approaches to catch a particular type of prey. If a person has a habit of doing certain things in the game, there's going to be somebody who's going to recognize the pattern, recognize the way of playing, and then set up their own gameplay in order to take advantage and possibly kill that particular type of prey. I mean, this is just the way it is. And so when you have a bunch of people running around with their heads fucking cut off, it only makes sense to have a freaking sniper or some freaking LMG dude sitting in a freaking an Overwatch position waiting for the dumbass to run by so they can collect the kill. I mean, that is just natural process of development. If there is a person who is learning how to get better at something, and they're analyzing the situation and looking to say, okay, how can I maximize the amount of kills? And they see a bunch of people running around, the first thing that's going to come to mind is, let me set up an ambush position here, ambush position here with this line of sight, and I'll mow them down, and they'll never have a chance. And that is just a human being advancing their skill set, paying attention to the circumstances and adapting. If you get a bunch of people camping and not moving around, then you adapt to the situation and become a rusher because that's their prey too. You follow what I'm saying? I mean, you're talking about two different sides of the same coin. So this is just my perception of it. But really what I wanted to talk to you about is I realize that sometimes I get a little annoyed with people giving me a hard time or giving anybody a hard time about the way they play, whether they camp or they rush or whatever the situation is. You understand? Or they snipe or whatever, okay? And it kind of gets a little annoying because it's like, look, here's a game where you have to develop a certain skill in order to do well in it. And that skill isn't just running and gunning. It isn't just camping. It isn't just sniping. It's all of those things. Each one is its own particular skill. But when it comes down to it, it just irritates me that people want to get all huffy and puffy over a person doing their best to do their best. Now, I wonder sometimes when I'm playing, whether or not it's really an issue of community versus skill development. And the reason why I say that is, is it more important to kind of follow the I explain my point of view about camping and everything else so I could be upfront and give you a full disclosure so that you understand that when I'm talking to you about this sort of thing or what I'm about to talk to you about, that you kind of get where I'm coming from in terms of my attitude about that, because I know that's going to be a question later. All right. But anyway, the thing is, though, in the COD community, for the most part, the attitude in general is that people look down on camping. They look down. They think rushing is the best way to play, the most fun way to play, and the most honorable way to play. And that's just the general consensus. And the thing is today, when I was watching the Street Fighter fight, and like I said, I've been in Street Fighter since the beginning, since the first one, and I've been a part of that Street Fighter community for the longest time. And I realized as I was watching this movie, I was irritated with the guy who was playing. I found myself annoyed because I felt like he was violating a good form rule when it came to gameplay in Street Fighter. And then I realized this is how people feel in COD about camping and everything else, that this is a good form violation. In other words, people have a sense of, every community has their own set of rules in terms of what is deemed to be honorable behavior or not. And in the COD community, if you camp, it's not really considered honorable. And the Street Fighter community, it's not really considered honorable to use excessive throwing, because the idea behind that, or the feeling behind that, as far as my understanding, is simply that it's an easy way to get to damage your enemy, and anybody can do it, and it's not really a skill involved in doing that, and it really is a cheap way. They also consider, like, if a person has a low energy bar and you start chipping them down with fireballs or freaking uppercuts and crap like that, that it's also considered to be bad form. Now, the thing is, there's people on both sides, just like in the COD community. There are people who believe in, good form or honorable gameplay, or the community kind of decides what's good form or honorable gameplay. And on the other side, you have purists, people who are just in it for the development of the skill and the expression of that skill, and also for the win. And so, like, if you're in the middle of a match with somebody and you have to throw in a few extra throws or whatever else in order to throw them off mentally, or maybe to get a rise out of them so that their gameplay suffers, I mean, that's all part of a strategic approach. And I realize that even though I find it annoying when somebody throws, that I really can't make an argument against it, simply because if in the course of developing your skill, all the things that are available to you in the game are put there in order for you to put together your own strategy for winning. That's what they're there for. And I kind of think that sometimes people assign the designation of bad form to tools in a game that they have no strategic answer to. And this is really what it comes down to. Because as I was watching the Street Fighter video, and I was realizing I was upset about the way the guy was playing and everything else, and I even wrote a comment, that I felt like he was doing a lot of bitch moves. And see, the thing is, he responded back with a tactician's response, which, it annoyed me, but at the same time, I recognized the response because I've made those same responses when people come at me about camping or whatever else. And then I just took a look at it and I said, it's... If you're competing in any kind of game, and the rules are set out ahead of time, that these are the things that are allowed in the game, then you're entitled as a game player to put together whatever strategy you can. And then I'm not talking about glitching, and I'm not talking about cheating or whatever else. I'm just simply talking about taking the tools that are available to you in the game, that are allowed, that are included by design, and utilizing them in whatever way possible in order to give yourself the best possible advantage in the game so that you can come away with the win. Okay? And the fact is that sometimes, and even me, I'm looking at the gameplay and I'm realizing that really subconsciously what I'm mad about is the fact that I see things being done that I don't think I would have an answer to in the game. And I think that that's really the way it is with a lot of people. I think when people are in COD or any other game, and they're getting pounded down and they're frustrated and everything else, the easiest thing to do is attack the method by which you have been frustrated. To attack that which you don't have an answer to, because it's simpler rather than to develop the skill in order to counter it. Like, for instance, I mean, in Street Fighter, it's built in the ability to counter throws. So really, a person should be able to use as many throws as they deem possible. And the fact is, if you're getting thrown back to back, you really need to work on your freaking your defensive play. I mean, but it's what I'm trying to say is I understand both sides. I understand wanting to do really well at a game, really wanting to achieve, really wanting to develop my skill, and really kind of tired of people fucking shitting on me for the work I put in. But then on the other side, I also know what it's like to be frustrated by something. I feel there's an answer, and then kind of feel like, well, maybe it's just a broken game or a broken part of the game that somebody's taking advantage of. It's human nature to do that, to make excuses for you, where you're inefficient or where you lack. And so I guess what I'm doing here is I'm expressing this stuff because it's on my mind. It is just something that I think it really kind of goes to the heart of a lot of the freaking the noise that goes on in our communities. I mean, we're all gamers, man. You know, we're all here for the accomplishment, for the grind, for the achievement, for that moment when you know you've been practicing something at practice, and then boom, you pull it off, and it's just at the right moment, and it's epic, and you have other people around you that can appreciate the work that you put in. You know what I mean? That's true of any community. I mean, any community in which you're developing skill, and you put in the work and you put in the time and everything else, and then boom, when the right moment comes, it's just perfect. And then there's people there to witness it, who understand what kind of work you did. You know, I mean, really, what we need to do is stop bitching at each other about this and that, and being little girls about, you know, not doing well. I mean, you know, just because we've run into a situation where we're having difficulty overcoming a person's another person's good work. You know what I mean? Rather than just go, oh, you know, that was bitchy and oh, blah, blah, blah. What we really need to do is say, hey, that's really there's a lot of skill involved in that. Hey, that's really good work. And and start working on yourself, man. Start working on your own skills so that the next time you come across that, you have an answer. And it's the same thing with campers, man. Listen, let me tell you something, man. I've run with some real fucking high-end players, bro. And the guys who fucking rush, who really are good rushers and are real skilled players, are not one thing. First of all, they adapt to multiple situations. They rush when it's required. They camp when it's required. They snipe when it's required. They do whatever is called for in this situation in order to support the team. That's number one. And number two, a real rusher could give a fuck about a camper. And you guys who bitch about campers, I mean, I'm talking commentators, and sure, I'm going to get flack for this, I don't care, okay? Because I've earned my place in the community, all right? Just like every other freaking gamer. And the fact is that when it comes down to it, the guys who really bitch the most are the ones who are frustrated. And frustration is a sign of your weakness, okay? So when it comes down to it, if you're getting owned by the same guy using the same tactics, there's something wrong with you. It's something that you need to adjust, something that you need to come up with as an answer to that. Okay? Because it's different, like with freaking, what was it, Modern Warfare 2? Modern Warfare 2, when they fucking had that damn fucking map with the it had the oil tankers and shit and stuff like that, and they had that big ass rock, a whole bunch of rocks out in the freaking with sand and everything else, and there was this one rock that people could climb into, and they could shoot you, but you couldn't shoot them back. That's a whole fucking different ball game. You understand what I'm saying? You're straight out cheating. You're freaking exploiting a freaking glitch in the game, and it's not even a fair engagement. That's not tactical at all. It's just straight cheating. It's a bitch move. Same thing with boosting and all that other crap. All right, but what I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a person who maybe he's in one freaking building or whatever else, and he's covering all the exits, and he's doing a routine where he's checking back and forth, looking for people to come up and approach him, and he's attacking them where he has the best advantage, top of stairs, whatever else, from the window and everything else, using claymores, using whatever tools were required, and a person can't kill him. They keep going back and getting killed, and oh my god, what a fucking camper, and that's just your stupidity. Number one, if you keep going back to the same guy who's freaking murking you, you're stupid. Number two, there's grenades, grenade launchers, fucking rocket launchers, smalls. They got all manner of different things in order to deal with a douchebag that's freaking got himself entrenched. That's the whole purpose of a fucking grenade launcher, is to deal with people who are entrenched. That's the whole purpose of a grenade, is to deal with people who are entrenched. C4, the list goes on. Or if you really want to take it up a notch, go across the map, look for a line of sight on the prick, and when he sticks his head in the window, pop his melon. I mean, there's so many answers to this, but people, what they want to do is just find the simplest, easiest path to looking good and getting praise. And it doesn't work like that. When you want real respect, you have to put work in. You know how many hours it takes in order to be classified as an expert on any particular subject matter? Any subject, any skill whatsoever. It takes 10,000 hours, bro. 10,000 hours invested in that same skill in order to be considered an expert at that. 10,000. You know? So put the work in and the respect will come. Don't bitch at people for using tools that are readily available to you. I mean, it's really what it is. It's equal ground. You get put into the same game, and you have all the same tools. And then the only real kind of fluctuation, which, freaking Activision and the rest of them have to come up with some solutions to this, but it's the lag. The lag is really the only thing that kind of gives an unfair advantage in the game, in my opinion. Is really that. And truthfully, what they really need to do as far as that's concerned is throw up some freaking some dedicated servers, because I play Battlefield 3 all the time, and there's practically no lag in that game. I have actually yet to have seen lag in that game, and you can run with freaking 64 players on a map on PC and 32 players on PS3. So, I don't know what the hell COD's excuse is. I mean, they got fucking 12 people on the map, maybe 18 max, and everything is fucking laggy as fuck. I mean, when it comes down to it's the peer-to-peer tech that's really the problem, as far as that's concerned. So really what they have to do with that, like I said, is dedicated servers or dedicated proxy servers, maybe even subscription-based. I'm sure there's quite a few people out there that wouldn't mind paying a few dollars a month just to have an experience that doesn't have lag in it. I know I would. I would pay. But I don't know. I'm going to wrap it up. I just wanted to address the situation and to say this is something I did wrong. And while I offer my opinion to you, and I say what I say, and maybe you might find some of what I say offensive. And honestly, I want to close this by simply saying that I have nothing but respect for every other freaking gamer out there. You know what I mean? As far as I'm concerned, gamers are my family. You know what I mean? Because we all love the same stuff. We all believe in the same thing. I mean, and not necessarily politics or philosophy, but in gaming itself, enjoying it and having fun with it and connecting with each other and that sort of thing. You know what I mean? So it's one gamer to another expressing an opinion, telling my particular point of view to you, saying this is the way I feel about this, and just the same way that you guys have every right to say what you want to say about what I have to say, because we're all here together, no one above the other. So, Swolf out.